Hello and welcome to another episode of Lean Business Agility, today from Sao Paulo. And with me is Raphael Montenegro. Cool. Hi, Rafa.
Hi.
Thanks for having some time for me.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Yeah, today we want to talk a little bit about flight levels and about your experience with flight levels, right? But before we start, who are you?
Okay, so I'm Rafa. Some people also call me Chiwi. And I'm an agile expert here in Knowledge 21, a Brazilian company who also have operations in the United States, Latin America, and Europe now. So we are basically a digital agile transformation company. We're helping company and people to change the way they work into agile work.
Okay, nice, cool. So we met last time when I was here and when I did one of my flight level workshops. You were a participant of the flight level workshop, right? Mm-hmm. And yeah, you started, I mean, you were already applying flight levels before, but you somehow changed the way how you do flight levels after the workshop, right? So what is actually your experience with it?
Yeah, so we, before being in Knowledge 21, I was also a client from Knowledge 21, so doing Kanban trainings and doing other trainings. I have heard about flight levels before, and we had the concept, but I think that the class gave me a more deep approach on how to use it and to understand it better. So after the class, I think it was much more clear what are the benefits from thinking about flight levels and using it in our day-to-day work, and especially as we work as consultants inside of companies. I think this is especially powerful and useful for us in the sense of having a better understanding of what is happening in the companies and what is missing, right?
Okay. So can you give us some example? Where do you use this flight level thinking in organizations, and what was what did you change after the workshop?
Yeah, sure. So normally companies come to us with a very strict understanding of the problems that they have and where they need agility or what is agility for. And it's pretty common to see that companies do have some kind of strategy, even though sometimes it's a very tactical or a very operational strategy, so to say. And they think about agile and agility only as a team level thing. So it's pretty common to see the companies that want to have some kind of agility and agile practices, but only in team level. So the flight levels is a good way of thinking that, well, okay, we can start from this team level and we can start introducing some practices, be it like from Kanban, Scrum, whatever. But at some point we will have to discuss how the work that the teams are doing is related to strategy, and normally why it's not working, right? So why they are not getting results from that, and why is an agile actually helping them to grow.
Okay, so I mean that's a common pattern what I see quite often in Europe. So flight level 3, like the strategy, is somehow present in organizations. Flight level 1 is somehow also there. I mean, flight level 1 is the strongest actually. So we have Scrum teams, Kanban teams. So there's a lot going on the team level, but there's always like a vacuum in between. So strategy and this flight level 2 is missing somehow. Is this also something that you can relate here in Brazil? Yeah, so this is pretty much the basic scenario that we have in every company that we work on. And I think that for kind of two reasons, right? So first one is that management is changing, and how people do management in companies is changing. And what once were a dependency on people that is specifically managing and connecting the work between strategy and coordination, and operation, no longer works like that, right? And if we want to have the benefits of agile and agility, then we need to have a better way of doing this. And how do we connect the work from the teams with the strategy?
But normally what you see is a lot of heroes, like coordinators or like high managers doing this work by themselves, trying to translate to people what is the strategy and trying to give them some kind of feeling of why they're doing what they're doing.
Yeah, but that's a very good point. So actually, what I see quite often is that people think, okay, we need an explicit group of people who are somehow take care of the flight level 2, and there needs to be another group who takes care of flight level 3, but that's actually not the case. I mean, it can't be like this, but still the flight level 2 is more or less the flight level for the teams, how they do to coordinate their work.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah. So this is something that is happening right now in the companies that we are working with, which is we are trying to remove the dependency of those heroes and making the companies more less fragile, I would say, like introducing some of the things that you bring on your course in the flight level mindset, like let's give some kind of visualization at first of what is happening in this coordination level. Let's make people look at a more systemic approach to the company rather than what is my teamwork only. And also, I think that making really clear at what times and what moments they should be thinking more about the strategy and how to make it more close to the work that they have in their day-to-day basis, rather than expecting someone to come and do this for them.
Exactly. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, that sounds really cool. So there's already quite a lot of experience, and I kind of like this. So, but when you go to organizations, are you like, okay, here's a new shiny method, framework, flight levels, whatever, and let's start doing this kind of thing, or how are you approaching it? From my point of view, flight levels is totally not a method or framework. It's a way of thinking. But how are you doing it here?
Yeah, so definitely talking to companies or to the people trying to manage the transformation in companies about flight levels directly seems not to be the best way to generate the engagement that we want to change those aspects and to create a coordination level, for example, and so on. Because first, I think there is the cultural aspect where people is very used to letting those managers and those heroes to deal with the problem. So it's difficult to generate the engagement from there. But once we start to talk more about business agility actually and how to achieve real results from this way of thinking, I think that's where we can get a little more traction, so to say. So, for example, OKRs being a tool that people is very used to right now, and that people is actually looking for in companies. I think it's a better way to start talking about the kind of change we want to make, connecting business strategy to the operational work and coordinating all of this. So it's more about results and more about let's change the way we are working to guarantee that we will achieve those results, and then showing piece by piece what we need to put in place so that we can start to have those levels. And I think that especially looking for the real problems that they have and where we want to put new things so that we can help to solve them. So be it like a new interaction or a new tool or whatever. So this seems to be way more useful than actually going there and talking, hey, let's do flight levels. And people is kind of interested always in the concept, but when they start to think about, okay, so how this is going to help me, I think it's more difficult for them. And once we start talking about the real world problems, right, and actually the things that they need to solve in their work, that's where we can get a little more traction to start working with the concept, even if we don't talk about it explicitly.
Yeah, I mean that's somehow also the approach that what we are doing, because I really think it makes sense in the end. So you're running a consulting company. I'm also running a consulting company. And when you run a consulting company, it's often not the easiest way to do something like this, because I mean organizations are looking for like tell me the correct solution. mount or install this correct solution in my organization.
What are the steps?
Yes, what are the steps? What is the recipe? And there is a lot of recipes out there.
Yeah.
And everything will be fine. So, but flight levels, we consciously have chosen a different approach, and we know it's definitely not the kind of thing where you have a lot of marketing or whatever behind it, but nevertheless we think it makes sense that we somehow conserve this knowledge and to somehow bring this thinking model to people. And I say we, and I mean really we.
Yeah.
So there's the idea that we are founding the Flight Levels Academy. It's currently in progress, and Knowledge 21 is a founding member actually. Yeah. And you are already running your first courses here in Sao Paulo soon, right? Yeah,
so we will be running in January this first course. And I think it's rather you are a consultant like Knowledge 21 or yourself, or whether you are some kind of transformation agent inside of companies, this course will help you to understand better the problems that you have in your company and how to solve them, or at least how to approach them, right? To test things and so on. So when we did your course this year, we were really impressed on how it could help and how it could become a product for all of those people trying to drive change in their companies and in their clients. So that's why we think there is a great potential to that in the Brazilian market as well. Yeah. And we are consistently seeing, like I said, companies that need this kind of approach. Yeah. So that's why we are very happy to be partners in this and bring this to Brazil.
Cool. Yeah. Well, that's actually a good word for the end.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Nice.
Thanks for some time.
Sure.
You spent with me here, and exciting times. I'm very much looking forward how it's continuing here in Brazil with Flight Levels.
Nice. Cool. So thank you for having me, and I'm anxious to see how this will develop in Brazil.
Cool.
Nice.
All right. Thank you guys, and goodbye.
Bye-bye.